Hey YouTube, welcome back to another video. The medium bass project is actually finally complete now. This is my King Silversonic 1485 bell. It is Silversonic, right? Yes. Not Silvertone. This is the other bell I had mounted to this valve section so far. My two medium bass bells. I got the Bach 45 right here. You can kind of see that with its appropriate tuning slide. And then I have the 1485 with its appropriate tuning slide. They're both mounted, they're both working, and I've not played this a whole lot. I've been really busy, and I've been playing small tenor trombone almost exclusively, and then this week I have a bunch of bass stuff coming up. So I'm not really playing this a ton. I just got it out today for a little more fun. I thought I'd try out some different setups. I did kind of decide. I had like a day where I put a bunch of time in on this, and I found some setups that works and some setups that don't work. And it's very exciting. The Silversonic bell is super, super dope. So King 1485, another one of those tweener horns, 536, 547 slides, single valve, of course. And the 1485 has a sterling silver bell. The 1480 has a yellow brass bell. These are early King bass trombones, kind of tenor bass trombones. Again, just these tweener horns that no longer exist. I had one. I liked it, but it was not really fun to play, and so I had it mounted to this. Just like my Bach 45, which is a very similar vibe, just from a different company, basically. And around the same period of time, maybe the 45 existed just a little bit later. I'm not exactly sure. This horn is from the 60s, and my 45 is from the 70s, so they're actually from later production of both of the models. These started in like the 30s, and the 45, I don't know, 30s, 40s, something like that. Not an expert, I'm not gonna lie. So here it is. You just heard two different sound clips of this bell. One with bass configuration, just my normal mouthpiece, Markey, LT50 slide with my usual O'Malley lead pipe, and then the rest of it is this. And then the second clip where I play the Grandal-ish, I don't have the music in front of me, I've actually never played it before, with my large tenor slide. There's a 42 slide with a 605 MK drawing crook. That's just 5 thousandths larger than a normal bass crook. And a Canstool Minnick open lead pipe, just a random combo that works really well on my double valve tenor, and it works really well on this. It's crazy the sound difference I get between these things. Obviously tenor and bass, but both of these bells respond very appropriately. They completely change character. This feels like a total jazz bass like this, and then with this, feels like a tenor trombone. It's very neat. And just to give a little more example of why these are a weird size, right? So I've got this here. Here's my M&W Bach 50. You know, they largely, you know, they look like bass trombones. If we put them up against each other, the Bach 50, a little larger, you know, 9.5-inch bell, 9-inch bell. The difference is really in the bell throats and the back of the tuning slides. It's hard to show the tuning slides though. So here's my normal Tom Crown bass mute. It goes in that far, which is exactly the right amount. If I put that mute into my 1485 here, and this slide likes to fall over, it goes in that far, so not the right distance. That's like putting it in a tenor trombone. For reference, if I put it in the 45, just a little bit farther. The throat on this is just slightly different. If I get this tenor mute, I've got this Hughes & Berg stone line straight, it goes in the correct amount, probably like a little tiny bit too far. If I needed to use mute on this a lot, I would leave the corks a little larger maybe. What's interesting is with this tenor mute in particular, I've not tried a bunch. The bad notes have been moved way up, and they're just below the staff. So like G is the worst note now. Usually it's below that, like F maybe. And that, that goes in that far, and on the 45 goes in a little bit farther, as we showed earlier. So again, much more like tenor trombone in the construction of the bell than it is bass trombone, which is why when you put the tenor slide on, it sounds totally different. What does this mean for how I'm going to use it? Well, I don't know. I have no idea. I think as a bass, the Silversonic with this slide sounds super, super, super cool and plays really well. That's the interesting thing. I learned this very recently. The Bach 45 tuning slide, which you see right here, is wide. It's a very wide span. I would have, if I were smart, had a 42 slide to show you, but it's the same span as a Bach 50 tuning slide, so that they can fit on the same valve sections, like from the factory. That's what they did. But if you measure the inside of this tuning slide, it's within like 30 thousandths, so 300ths of a Bach 42 tuning slide. So it's not very much larger. It's just a tiny bit larger than a Bach 42 tuning slide. And obviously the bell gets larger as we go towards the end of the bell. But this is not very large. It's got a Bach 50 lower leg, but the actual tube itself, the crook, not very big. On the 1485, which is from a different maker, this tuning slide is much larger all the way through. It starts bigger, it ends bigger, the whole thing is bigger. It's another like size up from the Bach 45. And therefore, with the bass setup, it really responds way more like a bass. I can put this whole setup on the 45 and it sounds really cool, like super dense, beautiful sound. Does not play super well. It feels like playing Bach 42 with a bass slide and a bass mouthpiece, where it's like, it technically works, and it doesn't sound bad, but it does not respond very well. And like intonation is a little wonky. Third partial gets a little low. A lot of things are just like slightly off. And if you really want to deal with it, you can. This feels much more like a real bass trombone. If I go back to my M&W, obviously that's just like way more open. It's way more even. It's a very real instrument. That is a very well-designed instrument. This is Frankenhorn to the max. But still, I really like how it feels. The low range pops. It's got that Silversonic zing to it. But of course, these Silversonic bells are thick. They're very heavy bells. And therefore, they don't sound nasty necessarily. They just sound very full spectrum. They have a lot of stuff going on in the sound. Am I ever going to really use it like this? I don't know. Am I going to use it like a tenor? I don't know. I already have a double valve tenor as well. But super cool. This setup feels better to me as a bass trombone. This setup feels better to me as a tenor trombone, the 45 setup. So I have a full gradation. I have just like normal large bore tenors. I have two of those. One sounds a little bigger than the other. And then I have a double valve large bore tenor. Okay, we're moving up the scale. And then I have Bach 45 with a tenor slide. Okay, that sounds even bigger. Then I have King 1485 with a tenor slide. Sounds even bigger. And then I have this with a bass slide. It sounds even bigger than that. And then I have this with a bass slide. It sounds even bigger. And then I have bass trombone. I have like every possible thing on the spectrum. Is that useful? Probably not, but it is neat. And this setup in particular, I am pretty chuffed with. I got the gold wash in the bell. I got the Silversonic. I got the really cool engraving, which is very difficult to see on camera. Sorry about that. But it looks just super cool. I've got very good playing valves on this, the Bosch BOSC valves with my very good slide. It's interesting, if I play this with my Bach 50 slide and regular weight. I have a couple of those. It totally changes the character, and this horn gets like kind of weirdly dark. It's like just kind of the wrong setup. It feels not correct. Whereas if I use one of those 50 slides on this, it just sounds super, super chocolatey and rich. This really does like that nickel slide. It has to match. So that's it. I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I'm going to, at some point, make a video where I compare, like, you know, playing a bunch of low C's or some kind of low etude on, like, double valve tenor, one of these, bass trombone and contra, I don't know, something like that, where we can really hear the difference between all these instruments. Maybe in a better space than this. Maybe not, because I don't have a lot of access to that. But that would be cool. I would like to do that myself. That takes a lot of time and, again, a space that I might not have. We'll see. But that's all. The medium bass project is actually done. What remains to be done is to put my O'Malley 50 bell on this and have just a normal bass trombone on it as well, which I think will be extremely good. And that's it. That's all I got time for. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.